I'd like to call this meeting of the Wilson County Board of Education to order. Members of the board, you have your agenda in front of you. We do need to make a couple of changes, if you would, please. Under the committee reports, under administrative services, if you would move the 2017-18 budget amendments to become an informational item. And also, if you would add also for information a bid for painting of exposed ceiling at Spate for information as well. And under the Instructional Services Committee, we need to add under action a motion to change a format for our policy revision. Also under human resource, in the précis, it calls for removal of a policy 5422. That will be an action item as well. That is the standards for school volunteers. So with that in mind, is there anything else that we need to?
Excuse me, Dr. Fisher.
Yes.
What was the last one?
5422, policy standards for school volunteers under the policies for human resources.
Thank you.
Yes, that will be an action item as well. Is there anything else in relation to the agenda? Hearing none, the chair will entertain a motion for the approval of the agenda as amended.
Madam Chair,
Mr. Mercer?
I move that we approve the agenda as amended.
Second.
It has been moved and properly seconded that we approve the agenda with the stated amended items. Members of the audience, if you would join us in the Pledge of Allegiance to be fought.
Madam Chair,
Mr.
do we need to vote on?
I'm so sorry. I'm moving ahead of myself. Thank you. It has been moved and properly seconded that we approve the agenda as amended. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion, let it be known by the sign of aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. Let the record reflect that the motion carries unanimously. Thank you so much, Mr. Mercer. Now, if the audience would join the members of the board in the Pledge of Allegiance to be followed by a moment of silence, and Ms. Powell will ask if you will lead us in that tonight.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
Thank you. Members of the board, you have before you the minutes for June the 11th, which was a regular meeting, and June the 29th, which was a special meeting. The chair will entertain a motion in regard to those minutes.
Madam Chair,
Mrs. Barnes?
I move that we approve the regular board meeting minutes of June the 11th and the June 29th special board meeting.
Second.
It has been moved and properly seconded that we approve the minutes of June 11, 2018, the regular board meeting, and June 29, 2018, a special board meeting. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion, let it be known by the sign of aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Let the record reflect that the motion carries unanimously. Dr. Mills, and with the assistance of Mrs. Powell, if you would do the good news presentations, please.
Board members, members of the audience, I have some great news to share tonight. And the first one is about the Owens Scholarship recipients. And we want to recognize our graduates who earned Owens scholarships this year. This provides funding so that they can pursue a degree in education and then come back and teach for us. And that's the part that I'm really excited about. So when you meet these folks, you'll see why. There were 7 total recipients, but not all of them could be here tonight. Many of them are on vacation this time of year. But I'm still going to call out all their names. And if I do call out your names, you would come up front. We want to recognize you and so everyone can see who you are. And we can take another picture to prove you're coming back in 4 years. From Bettyfield High School, Alan Calderon. That's all, Alan. From Fike High School, Cameron Koenig. That's all, Cameron. London Adkins. Sorry, London's here today.
Mr. Calderon, you might want to...
Holly Johnston. I think they're on vacation this week. And Sarah Woker. And from Hunt High School, I'm going to get this name right, Abrea Curtis. And Tiana Wiggins. Several of us had a chance to meet these folks when they interviewed, and it was extremely rewarding and impressive, and gave me great hope and faith for our future. And I'll just speak as a parent and as an administrator. You should be so proud. They were just, it was a wonderful experience to have a chance to meet them and talk to them. In order to receive the scholarship, let's learn what they had to do. They had to express an interest in teaching and then go through the application and interview process. Owens scholars are chosen by committee, which includes all the high school principals. Selection is based on achievements in academics, leadership, character, and community service. The scholarship program began in 1998 when Pee Wee and Myrtle Owens created a private trust prior to their deaths. Since that time, we have awarded 125 Owens scholarships. When our Owens scholars come back to teach for us, which they do, they are some of the most talented and driven teachers in our system. We know this year's recipients will be the same, and while we don't want to rush your college experience, we certainly are excited about having you come join our Wilson County Schools family in a few years as a teacher with us. So congratulations. We're very, very proud of you and thankful that you're coming back to us. So you might as well get used to talking in front of a group. So would you like to recognize anybody that's here with you tonight?
My mother and my sister.
My mom and dad is actually named Jessica.
Nice to have you.
My mother, Tasha Perry.
Well, congratulations again. We're so glad you're coming back to us and so glad you're our graduates. I got to stand behind you.
I'm sorry. I'm not walking. I'm sorry.
Everyone I knew Chick-fil-A. What in the world? Free chicken nuggets for all of us now.
Take the right picture.
Thank you. I'm sorry. Sorry, who's going? All right, if y'all can. 1, 2, 3. Good.
That was a requirement, sorry. Right. Thank y'all.
No, you're fine.
Have a big note here. It says, look at me for a picture, so we had to do that. There's some other folks we want to recognize tonight we're very proud of as well, and they represent the firefighter internship program. So we want to recognize 2 recent graduates from Hunt High School, Will Barnes and Tanner Rogers. Are they with us? I think I saw them in the back. Gentlemen, if you would come up. Congratulations. Will, Tanner. I seen you since you were this tall, Tanner. I think the ball field. I'm getting old.
But that speaks to the character.
Let me tell you about these two gentlemen. These young men were participants in the firefighter internship program, which is a collaboration between Wilson Fire Rescue Services, the City of Wilson, and Wilson County Schools. Through the internship, Will and Tanner spent several months working alongside firefighters, where they gained firsthand knowledge of procedures and operations within the fire station. More importantly, they also learned what requirements are necessary to become a firefighter. At the end of the internship, they were able to ride the engines and respond to calls. Now, you know we're all jealous of that, right? Okay. They definitely left their mark on the program and developed a 6-page standard operating procedure that will be the template for future interns. I really appreciate that. That's good. We want to thank our work-based learning coordinator, Jimmy Lucas. I saw him at the back. And also Deputy Chief Michael Sumner with the Wilson County Fire and Rescue Services, who are here with us tonight. Chief Sumner, there you are. I saw you at the back. They have praised both Will and Tanner for their hard work, enthusiasm, and the way they matured throughout the experience. Both graduates have firefighting in their blood and have several family members who were career firefighters or volunteered. We wish them all the best in the future. Will has been offered a job with Wilson Fire and Rescue and starts July 31st. You don't have long before you got to be on call then. Tanner is heading to the Ag School at NC State. They really set the bar high for our incoming interns, and next year we're doubling the participation to have 4 students in the program. So congratulations on setting the way for us, gentlemen. And would you like to recognize folks that are here with you tonight, gentlemen?
I have my grandparents and
I have my mom and dad and my 2 grandmothers.
Glad to have you here tonight. Congratulations again. We're very proud of you.
Thank you, sir.
Last time I saw Tanner, he was this big playing Little League. No, T-ball. Thank you, gentlemen. Congratulations. And board members, that's the end of the good news for tonight.
The good news is always welcome. Thank you. Lets us know that we have a good future to look forward to. Thank you so very much. And we particularly look forward to the Pee Wee and Myrtle Owen Scholars coming back in 4 years to join our ranks. Thank you so much. Under the chairman's report, it seems like we just closed school yesterday. We're already at the middle of the summer, and we're just around the corner from getting ready to go back to school again. So I'd like to remind everybody that the back to school backpack event will take place yet again. It will be on August the 18th from 9 o'clock to 11 o'clock a.m. at Fike High School this year. So we appreciate the community support in providing book bags and supplies to our students. I know that at least a couple of the board members have already made contributions, and if you have not already made a contribution, we're going to ask you to make that contribution so that we too assist our students in being ready to return to school. I would like to take a moment to recognize we have 2 guests in the audience with us this evening. We have the Lucama Mayor Pro Tem Patricia Uzzell and Lucama Commissioner Brenda Blakelock, and we welcome you to our meeting this evening. Thank you so much, because what we do affects the residents of your community as well, since we service your children, and we thank you so much for coming. And with that, my report is ended, and I will turn it over to Dr. Mills.
Madam Chair, board members, since the last board meeting, I've got a few tidbits to share with you that are good news. We were awarded a $44,000 grant through the Healthcare Foundation of Wilson for vegetable and salad bars in 4 of our schools beginning in the fall, 3 traditional high schools and Spate Middle School. So we're excited about that. The bars will include all the vegetables on the menu for that day and also ingredients for making a salad. Students and staff will serve themselves and can eat unlimited portions. So we're great. I know there's a lot of people in the big glad that. We're grateful to the Healthcare Foundation for its commitment to the health and wellness of our students and staff. As you well know, they support us in many different ways, and this is just another way they provide that commitment to our students in our district. We also have a new website provider, Edlio. Is that how you say this? Close enough? And our site is under construction, so right now we have a temporary site and content's being added to it daily. Amber is doing that as fast as she can go. In a few weeks, we'll roll out the official site where the design is a little bit flashier and a little bit more consistent than the temp site. Our goal is to keep the district and school websites current and user-friendly for our stakeholders. The sites will also be ADA compliant. I'd like to thank not only Ms. Lynch, but also Donna Malloy and Brian Wagner from our tech department for their assistance with the technical details as we make that transition, which is a large undertaking. So it'll be a work in progress, so bear with us, but I think it'll be a good thing for us when we're done. Some upcoming events. Sometime in August, we've not scheduled a date yet, we'll work with you on that. We'd like to schedule a ceremony to unveil the signage for Frederick Douglass Elementary. So we'll keep you posted on that, but just know that's to come in August. Orientation dates and times for schools, which seems kind of weird because we're in July, but it's certainly going by very fast. Those dates and times have been set, and they're as follows. For elementary schools, orientation day is Thursday, August 23rd. That's from 4:30 to 6:30. Thursday, August 23rd, from 4:30 to 6:30. For middle schools, 7th and 8th grades are Thursday, August 23rd, from 5:30 to 7:30. That's 7th and 8th grade, Thursday, August 23rd, 5:30 to 7:30. And 6th grade is Tuesday, August 21st, from 5:30 to 7.
What was the last date, Dr. Mills?
August 21st, from 5:30 to 7 is 6th grade. Okay. High schools, 10th through 12th grades, is Thursday, August 23rd, from 6:30 to 8:30. We've staggered those on that day across the 3 levels. And then 9th grade is Wednesday, August 22nd, from 5:30 to 7. Okay. WECA and Watt are Thursday, August 2nd. This always sounds different, but it's correct. 10th through 13th grades is 8:30 to 5:30. That's scheduled pickup time. And then 9th graders, 6 p.m. in the Eagles Center for WECA and 6 p.m. in the Beddingfield Auditorium for Watt. Okay.
Okay.
I got those. And we'll be publicizing those several different ways as well, too. I want to get those out tonight at the board meeting and with you, your calendars as you plan ahead. Dr. Fitch mentioned the Operation Backpack Drive. Our goal is to collect 3,000 backpacks. Details can be found either on our website or you can contact Amber Lynch. We're very thankful for the folks who have donated so far, and Dr. Fitch, just so you know, Ms. Flynn and Ms. Boyer have made their donations already, so they're already ahead of the game. So again, that's August 18th from 9 to 11, and the doors open at 7. And that's at Fight this year. It should be a much bigger venue for what we've been offering as we go ahead. I would like to take just a moment. I'd like to thank Drew with the paper. They did a report on our preliminary highlights for the 2017-18 performance data. These are preliminary. As we move ahead through the summer, hopefully next month I'll be able to bring more data back with me and go through everything with you, and some other data as well that we're very proud of. But I'm very proud of our students and staff for their hard work this year, as they do every year. And this year, we've seen some nice increases in performance, and we're very pleased with that and very proud of our folks. So I wanted to highlight just a couple of them really quick, if I can. When you look at our overall end of grade and end of course combined, that's 3 through 8, and then the high school 3 courses. Our systems performance increased overall from 48.5 to 57.3% proficient, and so that's an 8.8 percentage point increase. That is a large increase in 1 year's time, so we're very excited about that. That's all tests combined for all subjects. In terms of the integrated tests that are offered in grades 3 through 8, our systems performance overall increased from 47.4 to 58%. That's 10.6 percentage points increase. That's huge.
The last one, 54 to what?
47.4 to 58%. It's 10.6. Again, I'm going to go through all this with you in detail with other pieces in August, but I know the newspapers covered this, so I just want to reiterate some. Our systems performance in reading went from 45.3 to 55.1. That's almost a 10 percentage point increase. Our performance in mathematics in 3 through 8 went from 43.4 to 55.9%. That's a 12.5 percentage points increase. That's huge. And our systems performance in science increased from 65.6 to 73.7. That's an 8.1 percentage point increase. So 10, almost 10, a little over 12, and 8 percentage points increase across reading, math, and other areas combined science. For EOC, our performance increased slightly from 53.1 to 54.3. That's 1.2. The only area where we saw a decrease overall was Math 1, and it was slight from 57.2 to 53.0. That's just 4.2 percentage points decrease, and that's something we can see in a couple spots that we need to take a look at. Our performance in Math 1 for the middle schools, however, was 99.5% proficient. Our performance in biology increased from 45.4 to 51.6. That's 6.2 percentage points increase. And our performance in English 2 went up from 55.2 to 58.4. And that's over 3 percentage points increase. So just to give you the whole overall trends, because these are all, the word I want you to keep hearing is increased, 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 increased. And I don't think we can say it enough, because it's a review of the year. It's where we are. We still have much work to do, but this is a nice trend for us and a good culmination of the year. Reading, overall results improved for grades 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Mathematics, our results went up for 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and third grade after the summer camp, most likely. Science, overall results improved for both grade levels, 5 and 8. For elementary and middle schools, including Daniels Alternative School, 18 of the 21 elementary and middle schools improved overall for reading. For elementary and middle schools in mathematics, also including Daniels, 20 out of 21 schools increased. For science, again including Daniels with their elementary and middle schools, 18 out of 21 schools improved overall. And all of our middle schools improved overall at very high levels in Math 1, with the exception of Daniels. They had very few students taking it, so keep that in mind. Overall in biology, if you include the high schools, Daniels and the high schools, 4 out of our 6 schools improved. And again, for English 2, looking at just our high schools and Daniels, 5 out of 6 schools improved overall in English 2. So again, the key word I want you to hear there is the consistency among grade levels and the word improve. So it's a great year for us. I'm very proud of our teachers and our principals and our students and all the support staff and others that make a difference every day to get our students there safely and take care of them and look out for them. And again, we have plenty of work to do, but this is a wonderful trend for our school system and for our community. So we want to take a chance to celebrate that and thank folks for all their hard work. And, again, won't be long before we'll be ready to do it again. And the school year will be upon us, and this year will be over. So I look forward to bringing you some more information about other key indicators to our August meeting. And again, as the state approves information for growth and other measures, we'll bring those and celebrate and share those with you as well. And Madam Chair, that's all I have.
All right, thank you so much.
Madam Chair.
Yes, ma'am.
In light of that wonderful news, I was going to ask if the board could dance around the tables, but since that might be a little much, could we have a round of applause for them?
Absolutely. Yes, sir.
I think they deserve a do-do from somebody. Thank you so much, Ms. Boyer.
Some things you shouldn't start, should you?
I'll tell you. Okay, thank you so much.
Dilly.
The next item on our agenda is the public input. As you know, we changed the public input policy process. There were no persons who signed up to address the board by the deadline, so we will move forward into our committee reports. And the first is Mr. Mercer for Administrative Services.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This afternoon at 4 o'clock, committee met with the superintendent and Mr. Letchworth, both president, and a few others. We have 2 information items and 1 action item. The first of the information items is the painting of the exposed ceiling in the gym at Spate Middle School. And it's necessary for us to acknowledge this and be informed about it because we want the work to go ahead and begin. The estimate for the job was $51,300, and that is at an amount which it does not require board approval, but it does require board notification. So we're taking care of that so that the work can begin. Anything further we need to add to that?
No?
Dr. Mills or anyone?
Board members, just remind you that was in our capital projects list that we've already seen.
Yes.
Okay, the second information item is the end-of-year budget amendments. And the reason it's information item is because we voted at last regular meeting to approve approve the superintendent to make the necessary adjustments for the end of the year. And that has been done, and you have the information before you. Are there any questions or comments or discussion regarding those amendments? Okay, hearing none, let's go to the action item that we have, which is the placement of the school-based health clinic, the WASH, at Bedingfield High School and the Wilson Academy of Applied Technology. In that regard, we had discussed 3 options at our work meeting, and those 3 options were 1, we could leave it where it is. 2, we could move it back in that grass area that is in that part, but move it back away from the windows and also turn it at an angle. And the 3rd option was to move the mobile unit behind the fence near the student parking lot.
I think for visualization, if you give the superintendent a moment, he's going to pull up the visuals that we have. Mr. Mercer, if you would pass that to Ms. Powell. Do you need this, Mr. Mercer? No. You have that one.
Okay, board members, I've given you some handouts and view, and we went through this in committee meeting, but before you've got a handout about the various options that you discussed last time with a few updated figures and then some screenshots. And Mr. Letchworth is here to talk about some of the things you asked us to do last time as well. Let me go ahead and get to, we've got these to refer back to as we go through, so if you have any questions. So this is the part that you asked Mr. Letchworth about going through and looking at elevations, if you remember correctly. Mark, can you go through that?
The elevations reflect from the concrete flooring inside of Bedingfield High School to each point referenced on the map in colored dots. So that would reference from the floor level to the yellow dot would be 1 foot 5 inches. It's lower on the exterior than the interior naturally to create positive grade. So when we looked at the elevations, we were looking to determine handicap accessibility as far as the length of ramps and what's permissible and what's not permissible. So we would get the slopes back to the building. And the purple dot references behind where cafeteria employees are presently parking at this time. And that's at a drop from the floor level of 4 foot, 1 1/4 inches. And the green dot is 5 foot, 8 inches, and of course, the last parking place is 7 foot from floor level.
Now, help me to remember and to make it clear when you talk about these different levels, and we'd have to add 30 inches in terms of the ramps, which means that yellow dot would mean that there would have to be an elevation of 47 inches in terms of the ramp and the like, and would impact the slope, which would impact those students who have disabilities or who may be in wheelchairs in order for the unit to be accessible, correct?
That's correct. So your height of your floor level in your mobile unit can't be ground level because it has a chassis and block work and plumbing underneath it. So it's going to be at a minimum of 32 inches to the ground level, 30 to 32, depending on the slope of that ground where it's
But
at.
if I understand it correctly, and help make sure I do understand it, the grade that is going to dictate how high, because of sewage drainage at 1 inch, or I don't know how about sewage, but the ramps are 1 inch per foot. But getting the right grade for the sewage and other things dictates how high it has to be off the, and then from there you have to go to determine how much ramp you have to have.
That's correct.
Because by the time with ramps, you can't go over 30 feet without having a landing or a turn. It's got to be 1 inch per foot. And so when you get into 30 and 40 and more, it's quite a lengthy ramp.
Right, and it's very important to understand that because the slope is falling down, you can't rise any quicker either. So once we get to ground level outside of the mobile unit, we have to rise that distance back up to the building in the same manner.
So at each one of those dots, we're going higher and higher and higher in terms of the slope and what would be necessary.
Correct.
Okay.
Questions on this one?
And excuse me, the dots represent the location of
Where the elevation was taken.
elevation. Okay.
Yeah, these are our elevations. If we were to proceed with anything else, you have to go through the architects to do that for official usage. Okay, questions? All right, so in your handout, you've got some aerials to show kind of the locations of the mobile unit as best we can fit it to represent kind of where it is now, and then two of the options you've looked at. So the blue areas around the mobile unit, that would be walkway, excuse me, not walkway,
Concrete.
wooden,
Wood.
and then gray is concrete. So this is where it's sitting now.
So the blue is actually the decking, is what is
Correct.
proposed
That's right.
is the decking. That
That's the
would be wood.
So this is where it's sitting now, so that's the one you're wanting to change it from. So this is another view, but this is the option 2 that you talked about last time, to look at orienting the mobile unit further down in front and at an angle to soften the effect. Again, the blue is the wood decking and the light gray is the concrete.
Now, the question was raised as to the visibility from within the building and the safety issue. So with this, at this angle, is there a visibility issue? The question was, if somebody were coming around that building, they could not be seen. So with this placement that is proposed, would that rectify that issue of lack of visibility and a safety problem?
Your line of sight would be from that gray area would be the doorway that enters, and then the other windows are further back toward the student entrance.
Right through here.
So you would gain visibility to the curb, but that first line of cars, unless you're in the office looking out, you wouldn't be able to see into first parking closest back to the football. I don't know if you can move your cursor.
Yeah.
Yep, that line of cars there.
There are no windows right through here,
No, there's no windows there. That's the kitchen area.
right here.
No, the door starts,
The
right?
the door's where you got any glass to see through.
And that's the cafeteria area.
That's correct.
Yes, that's correct.
So that line of sight would no longer be obstructed.
Not straight up to the curb, no ma'am.
Mr. Chair.
I believe we talked about adding a camera at the corner there that would
Yes,
improve.
what we could do
do away with
is,
that blind
we
spot.
can add a camera on this side back here. There is one back here right now.
It's on this side.
It's on this side?
Yeah, we can
Okay.
put
We
one
could,
on
we
that
could put
back.
another one back this way to give us some coverage this way and another this way.
Dr. Mills, point to the front of the building, please, from this angle. This front
That's right here.
entrance.
This is where the bear is right here. The actual front of the school is over west, that's facing the road, but the bear is right here.
Okay.
But actually, it's right about there. I'll
Isn't
go up
the
one- let me
bear
show you.
over here?
Let me show you. There's the bear right
The
there.
bear.
That's the bear.
And see, we're talking about, that walkway is the student, this is the office entrance.
Mhm.
Okay.
That's the student entrance. So that's the student entrance, office entrance is right over here.
Okay.
This part right here is a sidewalk access, so if any of our staff were to be visiting to come to the health center, they would not have to enter the building. They could use their ID badges to come in from there.
We also discussed adding preparing the door over here for the badges also.
Mr. Letchworth has looked at already making this an entry and exit door, and then also creating a hallway where it is in the cafeteria right now, so students wouldn't have to worry about getting into the cafeteria after hours. Those glass partitions can be resituated to allow us a clear walk through right there to that door. And this would also be covered walkway right through here.
All right.
I don't know what the hours are, so this is probably not a good question, but I know it gets awfully dark very quickly. Is there additional lighting that we're providing now that we're away from the building a little further out?
Yes, on the back corner in between this area, if this was the option chosen, there is a light that was already included to be put there, but we also have pole lights here and of course what's in the parking area as
What
well.
about the covered walkway?
Yes, it would be on the building shining down as a wall pack.
Okay. Good question. All right. The other screenshot we have is for the other option you looked at. Again, blue would be your decking around the mobile unit. Light gray would be the concrete. And this yellow square would be, need to be handicap parking. Again, siding here would require professional elevation certification.
What would be the issues involved with citing this at option 3?
The awning for getting children in and out that's your access to get your delivery trucks down to your football field and our bucket trucks to repair lights. So you would have to do a step-up awning to allow the students to pass through and still allow large trucks to pass underneath. That would have to be taken into account in order to provide the shelter to get the students to and from the building.
But is there also an issue with water and sewage in regard to option 3 as opposed to option 2?
Pending the city's verification on these elevations, the fall between there and your sewer line, you got a longer distance to get. And that's going to depend upon their elevation shots that they take.
Let me go up and show them where that
Plus, a
was right.
lot more ramp too.
Right, where your ramps would, and that's in blue that shows.
What is that, 150 feet or more?
It's better than 90 foot. It's going to be close to about 94, 95.
Three landings too.
Well, that doesn't indicate any landings. I know Henry said something about every 30 foot.
Every
landing.
30 feet you have to have
30 feet.
a
Yeah.
flat landing.
And the purpose, we had to add the handicapped parking right there was simply because it was so far
From the structure.
the building.
That's
Whereas
correct.
the other ones were placement.
And I think in option 2, the discussion was that where these would become designated handicap parking areas if option 2 is what is selected.
And keep in mind, from the figures that we have, it's 4 times more expensive to do option 3 as option 2.
Questions?
One more thing, in the option 3, I believe we would have to cut through cement floors to extend water or sewer.
Not for option 3 if it went to another location.
Oh,
If-
okay, all right. So
question
that's
had-
why it put it.
The question had been posed, why not put it on the back side of the campus? But
Okay.
with the back side of the campus, it presented other
You still have to deal with,
cost factors and
you
difficulties.
still have more sewer and water costs to run the parking
And
than where
that's-
the kids come from.
And because of the appearance of the unit, we looked at providing a brick facade around the unit itself to better blend in with the appearance of the school.
That's on the second page of your other handout.
Yes. Other questions or comments?
Dr. Fisher, Madam
Ms.
Chair.
Barnes?
If the building is owned by the county
Yes.
and not the property of Wilson County Schools, is there a large cost associated with the facade, or will we have to absorb the cost of the facade, I guess? If
We would be absorbing the cost of the facade.
I think with option 2, there's one tree that has to come down, isn't it? But it also places the unit among the trees, which to me takes some of the edge off of it. Any further discussion or questions? Comments? Well, yes, ma'am. Well, I feel like whichever option we use, the superintendent and the maintenance department will do all they can to have proper lighting and proper surveillance and so forth in place. Any other comments, questions?
Well, option 2 would move the unit from the current position, which was where we have heard the most comments concerning the placement of it as it is now. And option 2 would move that and give it an angle, but would also make sure that there is a better line of sight than what is perceived.
We've mentioned the difficulty putting it other places behind the building, or on the far side of the building. There are no bathrooms in the units that are outside. To gain access to sewage and water, you would have to cut through the concrete floors within the building at places. Is that right?
That's the
Mr. Ledger?
closest location to the sewer if you put it on that side of the building without going toward the football field, and then that's your depth and elevation.
Yes, I mean, there's a lot of elevation there. So, those places were considered, but they just aren't practical.
And you, excuse me. Madam
Yes,
Chair.
ma'am.
And you did mention to make it aesthetically pleasing, placement of shrubbery or some other buffer around it. Is that still part of the option if you chose option 2?
With option 2,
Two.
there's actually trees that'll be left as well.
Okay.
But yes, there'll be shrubbery planted around the exterior of it.
Any other questions, comments? Madam Chair,
Mr. Mercer?
on behalf of the Administrative Services Committee, I move that we approve option 2 for the placement of the trailer for wash at Bedingfield and for the high school.
Second.
It has been moved and properly seconded that we approve option 2 for the placement of the wash at Bedingfield and Wilson Academy of Applied Technology. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion, let it be known by the sign of aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. Let the record reflect that the motion carries unanimously.
That concludes our report, Madam Chair.
All right, thank you, Mr. Mercer. Next on the agenda is the Instructional Services Committee report. Mr. Mercer, I'm going to turn the meeting over to you because every item on the agenda for that committee is an action item. So as I will be making motions, I will look to you to carry that portion of the meeting.
Yes.
Thank you. The Instructional Services Committee met this afternoon, and we had lengthy discussion because there were lengthy policy, a number of policies that came before us. And first, I would like for us to, it was the recommendation of the committee that we change the format of the policies as presented because, as you were aware of the policies that came before us, some were done using the format that we have had in our policy manual in the past, and for ease of read we are recommending that we follow the format used by the North Carolina School Boards Association as they do policy revisions and manuals for a lot of our systems throughout the state, and we had already said that we would be matching our policies with those of the School Boards Association. So the first motion on the recommendation from the committee is that we change our current format that is currently in use by Wilson County School System to that of the format used by the North Carolina School Boards Association. That is the motion, sir.
Here, second.
A second.
It's been moved and properly seconded that we change our format for our policies to be in alignment with North Carolina School Board Association format for policies. Any further discussion or questions?
I have a question. When you say format, is it just the numbering system? Is that what we're talking about?
It's the numbering system, but also if you look at policy 6,000 or 4,400 that's presented here, and the format that we have here with the fourth, I'll use the new numbering, 44.1, 44.2, 4400.3. But if you then look at the policy, let's find another one.
4705.
The next one, 4705, 7828. If you look at the way that the policy is lined out, it's an easier system with the bulleted points beginning with a concise statement for the policy, then followed by the itemized items. And if there are needs for further delineation, it would follow with a 1A or 2, A, B, C. And for ease of reading, for the public as well as for ourselves, and for ease, particularly when we are transferring our policies as we review them to the system, both in terms of numbering and ease of read. And that's what we were looking at. As the staff was working on the policy changes, there was that discrepancy that occurred, and it was less confusing with the NCSBA style.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
Can you get Mr. Johnny to close the door so distraction of the noise?
If you just close the door, Mr. Coleman. All right.
Thank you.
And if you will, if I can, and for the attorney's information, and he can say if we can do this all at once. All of these policies, policy 4400, 4705, 4705, 4318, 4342, 3420, 3621, 4270, 4600, we are asking that a second read be waived for each of them, because we would like to have them in place for the beginning of the school year, and so as to allow the administration to be able to get these done and in print for the student handbooks in time. I'm going to make a blanket motion, if I can at this point, unless I have to do it for each individual policy, that we waive the second reading for each of these policies in order to be able to meet timelines for the opening of school.
I think a blanket motion makes a lot of sense, and you can do it.
And I will second that
All
motion.
right.
Well, we need to vote on the first motion.
Oh, didn't we vote on it?
First, yeah.
No, we did.
I
No, we
asked a
did not.
question, we never voted.
I'm
She
so
asked a
sorry.
question, we didn't vote.
You asked the question, I apologize. Out of order.
And just getting back up, so this is regarding the
Format change.
format to match with the North Carolina School Board Association.
Yes.
Any further discussion, questions? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? And it carries unanimously.
Thank you. Now, if you will entertain the motion that I was out of order in making, that we have a blanket, that we move to waive the second reading for each of these policies that we are discussing this evening, so as to be in compliance for time with the opening of school.
I second that motion.
It's been moved and properly seconded that we waive second reading on policies 4400, 4705, 4318, 4342, 3420, 3621, 427, and 4600. You waive the second reading. Any further questions or discussion? I have a comment I want to make.
Okay?
I agree with us doing this to accommodate what we're trying to do, but I also would like to encourage all of us and administration to try to avoid having to waive second readings, because I like the safety net of having a period of time to look at it and get feedback from the public.
Absolutely.
I agree with that. Pardon me. I think we need to, as much as possible, not waive that if we can help it.
It's necessary at times, and I think this is one of the times.
Well, I think we're going to be going through a whole lot of policies over the next year. Some will require the waiver of a second read, because some will be to be in compliance with legislation, both state and federally. And we do usually try to keep the request to waive a second reading to a minimum, but because there are so many of these that impact us at the start of the school year, which is the reason we requested this
It
time.
wasn't intended to be critical of
No.
anyone, it's more comfortable
Yes,
when we have that period of time.
yes.
Okay, any further discussion or questions? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carries unanimously.
Thank you. Policy 4400 is a change from policy number under our old system of 6,000, and it is in regard to attendance. You had a clean copy, but you also had a copy with red indicators showing where those changes occurred. The only addition to the policy was in regard to tardiness. So everything else about this policy stayed the same other than the numbering, and to add a section for tardiness. And the committee asked the administration to spell out within regulations excused absences for clarification in the future, so that parents have a better understanding of what absences are excused or not excused. So it is the recommendation of the committee that we change policy 6,000 to 4,400, and that we approve this policy as presented.
Second, anyone?
Second.
It's been moved properly seconded, the board approve our current policy of 6,000 be changed to 4,400 and be approved as amended. Any further? Yes, sir.
I would just point out in 6,000, which would be new 4,400, refers to policy 6111 and 6110.
Okay.
Let me see. No, okay. Those are not up, oh, excuse me. I just want to make, there's, down here later, there's reference to a policy that will be changed.
Yes.
I want to make sure we catch
Yes.
those. I misspoke here, sorry.
Any further questions, comments? All in favor, aye? Aye. Opposed? Carries unanimously.
All right. Policy 4705/7825. It is the policy in regard to Social Security. Wait a minute, no, wait. 4705 and 7820 are in regard to confidentiality of personal identifying information.
Excuse me, is it 7825?
4705/7825. Yes, sir. This is in regard to confidentiality of personal identifying information. You have the red copy. This is recognizing the need to protect not only the students but also the employees from the improper use or release of Social Security numbers and other identifying information. And this is to be in compliance with federal and state laws. It is the recommendation of the committee that we approve 4705/7825. Too many numbers.
I second.
It's been moved properly seconded that the full board approve policy 4705/7825. Any further discussion or questions? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, like sign. It carries unanimously.
Mr. Vice Chair, since we have now passed that policy of confidentiality of personal identifying information, we did have on our books policy 6022, which talked about Social Security number, saying that students entering Wilson County schools will provide their local school with the Social Security number, and that number would be used for identification purposes. And since we have just passed the last revision of this policy, I move that we repeal policy 6022, Social Security number.
Second.
It's been moved, moved and properly seconded. Is there any further questions or comments? The motion was to repeal current policy 6022 because of
Because it
the
called for-
passage of 4705, 7825.
Yes.
Any further questions, comments? Hearing none, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Like sign? Will pass unanimously.
All right, the next policy is policy 4318, wireless communication. This policy will align with general statutes as well as North Carolina School Boards Association policy. It was the recommendation of the committee that in the policy, we strike on line 32 the words "and solely," and S-O-L-E-L-Y, and solely. That statement was students are personally and solely responsible for the security of their wireless communication devices. The committee is recommending that we strike that and solely, and with that one change, it is the recommendation of the committee and therefore the motion that we approve 4318 wireless communication as presented with the necessary strike through.
Second.
It's been moved properly seconded that we approve. You got a question? or
This
comment?
is the policy that I was thinking of earlier.
Okay.
If you look at the last page, it refers to policy 6600.
Yes.
That will actually become policy 4342 if you approve the renumbering of 4342 to 6600.
Yep.
So I would just have it understood that if you approve 4342, that that'll be corrected.
Okay, yes.
I don't think we have to make it any formal as long as it's understood.
Okay, yes.
Okay.
Okay. Where are we now?
Carrying the motion.
It's been moved, and I think properly seconded, wasn't it?
Yes.
That we approve policy 4318 with the recommended changes. Any further questions, comments? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, like sign. Carries unanimously.
The next policy was policy 4342, investigations. This revised policy, again, aligns with general statutes for the state and the North Carolina School Boards Association policies, and it does support Wilson County Schools' newly passed policy 4318, wireless communication. We know that there is that renumbering of 6600 that was just alluded to by the board attorney. And it is the recommendation from the committee and the motion that we approve policy 4342, investigations.
Has it been seconded?
Mr. Farmer?
Okay. It's been moved and properly seconded that we approve policy 4342. Any further questions, comments?
Mr. Mercer?
Pardon me. Yes, sir.
No, on this one, we would recommend that the title be changed from investigations to student searches. That the School Board Association policy is called student searches.
All right.
And this deals apparently really with
Searches.
student searches rather than investigations in total.
All right.
So we think it might be easier to find and focus if it's called student searches.
So
Do I need to change
if
that
that's
motion
the case, do
then?
we need to have a motion to amend or
I think so. It
retitle?
could be understood.
Okay. I'll be happy to. I move that we approve policy 4342, renaming that student searches.
Yes.
In order to be in compliance with general statutes and School Board Association policies, and in support of Wilson County Schools Policy 4318, wireless communication.
Carrie second.
Gary, you, okay.
I wish you'd have written all that down.
Just,
But listen, see if I can cover it all.
Just change investigations and put
It's been
student
moved,
services.
it's been moved and properly seconded that we approve policy 4342, which supports policy 4318, and makes us comply with state regulations. Is any further discussion or questions? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? It was approved unanimously.
Excuse me 1 second.
Yes, and that's why I hadn't, well, that's the one where I was concerned about you taking up on the child. Do you have the right to go in?
Okay, Mr. Farmer has a question in regard to those searches and in regards to
I
having
direct
the
this to our
students.
lawyers, help me out here. We can confiscate an iPhone or a Chromebook, whatever. Do we have the right also to look inside to see what the content is if we think it's necessary to get to bullying or to get to anything that's dangerous? Do we have the right to open that iPhone up and look at what the content is?
Under
If it's a
certain
text
circumstances,
message
yes.
or a Facebook or a whatever.
General rule is you're not prohibited from making those searches, but they have to be necessary to support what you think is the wrongdoing. You must have a reasonable basis to think that there's something going on. You can't fish
Right.
for something that might be going on. You have to be very limited, so you're not accessing photographs, messages that go beyond what you think might be the violation.
I suppose you're looking for something like bullying, then you run into sexting.
That's a problem. You stop it immediately. I would always recommend that you have more than one person do that search. Sometimes you do the search with the parent being present. If there's questions, you can call the school board attorney. But you don't want, you can turn a good search bad by excessive searching. It can't be more intrusive than is needed for your purpose.
What about with the SRO officer?
He can
They have the
perhaps
autonomy.
search, but he's going to be subject to higher standards, criminal law, and probably a warrant. So you can do a search, but you have to think it through. What am I looking for? You can, a lot of times we'll say to the student, help me. We need to make a search. We don't want to get into your personal thing, but what are your text messages today while you were at school?
So
For
you need
example.
approval, you need approval of the young person?
You do not need approval.
Do you need to have him present there
No.
to interpret what you're doing?
No, but the more you have those protections, the less likely you are to be accused of going too far.
And this is a principal or an SRO officer?
Right.
A teacher, someone like it should not do this.
I don't like a person making their own judgment without kicking it up the chain to at least the principal, and I would want the principal to check with the central office. I think two heads are better than one on determining how far to go.
And an SRO officer has some obligation if they, by chance, looking for this, but find something that's illegal, or, you know,
That's right.
that rises to the standard that they would have to sign a warrant or not sign a warrant, but take action against a person.
That's right.
Where
And
the principal doesn't, I don't think.
does not. Different between education search and a law enforcement
And
search.
in my opinion, if you keep it with the education search, you're less likely to get in over your head. so to
And the
speak.
minute you see something that has to do with student sexual images, you stop it. You don't go farther, because there have been administrators who've been accused across the nation of engaging in viewing child porn, even though their intention was purely education. So the answer is, it all depends, and it's a very complicated area. So yes, you can make those searches, but try to be very careful not to go beyond what is necessary. Try to get consent if possible.
Since we just passed this, can we ask the administration to develop a set of regulations and the step-by-step process so that the
That was my
principals
concern.
are
I think
aware?
that makes a lot of sense,
I
because
don't
you
want
get a
to
lot of
pass
trouble.
something
That way you-
and then this happened, and then it's, surprise, it's not written. and the parents are not knowledgeable, the children are not knowledgeable, that this can happen to you. And maybe it will curtail some of this if they know that it can be confiscated and we can go in.
That's exactly right.
Can we further ask that the administration present us with the regulations that may be necessary so that there can be a comfort in knowing that that process is already there, and so that those regulations are in place prior to the school year starting?
We can begin to work on those. We had that conversation today. There's also something we cover in our legal training with attorneys from Schwartz and Shaw and others throughout the year, and as we go on. Most of our principals, when they get into a situation where it's getting closer and closer to the student's person in terms of their cell phones, always call and ask.
I think that's
do
the
that
key thing.
I've had more call than not call as we've gotten to that, because it is a gray area as you go beyond. As Mr. Shaw said, you don't have free rein to look through everything. You're trying to stay on topic, and at times it can get kind of cloudy. So we'll be glad to work on some regs. We shared that earlier today.
I'd like to ask one more question, if I may, and it's not pertaining to us right now, but I just saw where Durham County picked it up. I've seen where Cumberland's picked it up. I don't know if Wake's looking at it. But you get into geofencing, and the person that's looking over this sees the keyword and say it's bomb, whatever. Then they go to that child, they pull that child's phone, and if the texting's there, then, of course, law and everybody's involved in that. Is that something that needs to be addressed even though we don't have it now, or am I just ahead of the game?
Well, we usually don't get those regulations to be that specific on it. But I think that would be permissible.
But
Sounds to me
geofencing,
like
that's a service, that's a cost service.
But it brings it back to the administration, and we said, we've got this word, this one of these 1,500 keywords that we're looking for that forecast that something is going to happen that came from this student here. And so they can narrow it down to the student that said one of those 1,500 keywords that we're looking at, whether it be bullying, whether it be bomb threats, whether it be anything.
And presumably they could identify it as to when the communication occurred.
Exactly.
So we would be searching, if you're going to search, just that time period.
Yeah.
So again, it's very limited rather than expansive.
Right.
I've heard of it. I don't know the details of it.
So y'all
That certainly
have
be possible. I think the key thing is to have a policy, try to get some regs and have some training. There's a recent case in which the school board is in trouble where they had a perfectly good policy saying all searches shall be conducted with compliance with the Fourth Amendment. There should be reasonable cause. But then there was no training, and a teacher, improperly searched and did a strip search of some students, and the board defended itself on the grounds of the policy. And the court said, if you have the policy but no training, how is a teacher to know what is compliance with the Fourth Amendment or not? So you need at least some level of training, and at least on these, if you tell a teacher you never search, you get it to the principal or assistant principal, then they have some training, they bounce it up to the central office, we should be okay. I don't want to discourage the possibility of searches, we just have to do it the right way.
All right. The next policy is Policy 3420, Student Promotion and Accountability. We are looking at changing the number from 5530 to 3420. You have that we are leaving in the tables that talk about the expectations of student performance through our middle schools. We talk about reading camps, and if you would look on the page with item 3420.4, reading camps, it was recommended by the committee that starting on line 220, we strike where the sentence begins, "To the extent resources permit," to the end of that paragraph. We strike those lines so that the reading camp issue would stop at, "The superintendent or designee shall encourage parents of eligible students to enroll their students in a reading camp," period. I think that was the only other change that we made other than changing our numbering. And we changed the name from academic expectations for students to student promotion and accountability. And we added a paragraph, transfer student requirements, which would be 3420.13. With that recommendation from the committee, I move that we approve policy 3420, student promotion and accountability.
Second.
It's been moved properly second that we approve policy 3420, student promotion and accountability as amended. Any further questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor, aye? Aye. Opposed? Like sign, carries unanimously.
Thank you. Policy 3621 is academic, interscholastic athletic eligibility. It is a title change and a number change. Putting us in compliance with the North Carolina High School Athletic Association, talking about eligibility. And that was the only change to that policy. It is the recommendation from this committee. Therefore, I move that we approve policy 3621, interscholastic athletic eligibility.
Second.
It's been moved properly second that we full board approve policy 3621, interscholastic athletic eligibility. Any further discussion or questions? Hearing none, all in favor, aye? Aye. Opposed, like sign. It carries unanimously.
The next policy for consideration is 4270/6145, concussion and head injury. This is a revised policy that will align with the general statutes and the North Carolina, isn't that what I just did? No. And align with the School Boards Association. We're changing the number from 6803 to 4270/6145. This addresses a student's return to learning. Previously, we talked about return to play, but now we're talking about their returning to the classroom situation, and also it deals with athletic trainers and first responders. It is the recommendation and therefore the motion that this policy 4720-6145, concussion and head injury, be approved.
It's been moved and properly second that full board approve policy 4270/6145, concussion and head injury. Any further discussion or questions? Hearing none, all in favor, aye? Aye. Opposed, like sign. It passes unanimously.
And the last of the policies this evening is policy 4600, student fees. It is a number change from 6805 to 4600. There were some strike-throughs in the current policy, and a couple of number changes within the policy. Instead of 6805.2 and .1 and the like, it will be 4600.1, 2, or 3. It is the recommendation of the committee and therefore the motion that we approve policy 4600, student fees.
It's been moved properly second that the full board approve policy 4600, student fees. Any further questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor, aye. Aye. Opposed, like sign. It carries unanimously.
I knew I did a repeal of one policy. Did I make the motion to repeal the policy on tardiness 6121 because we included that in attendance?
I think we did.
I did not, thank you.
We repealed another one.
We repealed a different one.
We repealed.
Right,
Which one?
but not, I did.
The one you didn't do was 60-22, I think.
I did 60-22, I did not do 61-21 is what Ms. Harrison is telling me. Because we have rolled into the policy that we approved on attendance, we need to repeal the policy 61-21 on tardiness. Therefore, I move that we repeal policy 61-21 tardiness.
It's been moved properly second that we repeal policy 6121, tardiness. Any further questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, like sign. It's approved unanimously.
Thank you, Ms. Harrison, for keeping us straight on the policies. All right, are you turning it back over to me, sir?
Yes, ma'am, it's all yours.
All right. Mrs. Boyette?
Point of clarification.
Yes, ma'am.
Since we have appealed the policy regarding Social Security numbers, does that mean that, how are we going to handle that in student records? Are we, and for incoming kindergarten students, our normal procedure was to request a Social Security card? Are we going to change all of that?
We don't need to do that anymore. We don't do that anymore.
You don't, we do not do
No.
that anymore?
We have a user ID number.
Okay, and are we marking out Social Security numbers in student records?
Redacting those numbers in student records?
In our current students, I don't know that they have been taken out of the cumulative records, but that's something we can certainly.
As of yet?
As of yet.
Okay, but
No.
the question is, will we be redacting those numbers?
We certainly can.
All right.
Now that you don't have the policy.
That's right.
Now we have the policy.
That's right.
All right, thank you. Mr. Farmer?
Madam Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I'm going to take you into closed session. This is a little bit different now.
Okay.
Okay? I move the Wilson County Board of Education go into closed session to consider confidential personnel matters as provided in North Carolina General Statutes 143-318.11, A1 and 6, and 115C-319 through 321 to consider confidential student matters as provided in North Carolina General Statutes 143-318.11, A1, and North Carolina General Statutes 115C-402, and the Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act 20, United States Code 1232G, to establish or give instructions concerning the Board of Education's negotiating position concerning a potential acquisition and/or lease of real property as provided in North Carolina General Statutes 143-318.11A5, and to consult with the Board of Education attorney and preserve the attorney-client privilege as provided in North Carolina General Statutes 143-318.11A3.
I second.
It's up to you.
It has been moved and properly seconded that the Wilson County Board of Education go into closed session to consider confidential personnel matters as provided in North Carolina General Statutes 143-318.11A1 and 6, and 115C-319 through 321. To consider confidential student matters as provided in North Carolina General Statutes 143-318.11A1 and North Carolina General Statutes 115C-402 and the Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act 20, United States Code 1232G, to establish or give instruction concerning the Board of Education's negotiating position concerning a potential acquisition and/or lease of real property, as provided in North Carolina General Statutes 143-318.11A5, and to consult with the Board of Education attorney and preserve the attorney-client privilege as provided in North Carolina General Statutes 143-318.11A3. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion, let it be known by the sign of aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. Let the record reflect that the motion carries unanimously. We are adjourned to closed session.